If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more of my content. Also be sure to press the notification button down below, that way when a new video comes out, you'll be notified. Superheroes have become a mainstay in American pop culture, and this has moved to other countries such as Japan, with anime such as One Punch Man and My Hero Academia paying tribute to the genre. However, before that, superheroes in Japan were rather different. What do I mean? Well, superheroes were more like this. For most people, they would associate this with Power Rangers, a franchise that has captured the hearts of many. Starting off with the Mighty Morphin series first, throughout the 90s and 2000s, Power Rangers was a series that was widely popular and that still goes strong to this day, with a new TV series every few years and a movie that was moderately successful. That being said, one cannot ignore the inspiration that was the Super Sentai series in Japan that's been out since the 1970s, with one man truly being the force of it all. And that man's name is Shotaro Ishinomori. Known as the King of Manga, Shotaro Ishinomori would be known as the Japanese equivalent of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, as he was known to make tons of manga and contribute much to the Japanese superhero genre, better known as tokusatsu, with his most famous creations being Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. However, he would create other works that would help influence manga and anime for years to come. Born on January 25, 1938 as Shotaro Onodera in the city of Tomei in the Miyagi Prefecture of Japan. He would get into manga when he was in middle school and started a group called The Drop of Ink, which was named after a famous book at the time. Onodera would go on to enter a couple manga contests and even win a few of them. Growing up in a conservative Japanese household, Shotaro's father disapproved of his dreams of becoming a manga artist and wanted him to become a quote-unquote productive member of society. However, it was his older sister Yoshi that would support the young Shotaro all the way. Determined, Shotaro would move to Tokyo to get into the manga industry. He would later get to work under the legendary Osamu Tezuka, who you may know as the creator of Astro Boy and Kimba the White Lion. Tezuka would show him the ropes of the manga industry and he would show him how the animation was done by giving him a tour around Toei Animation, which at the time was making the adaptation of the classic Chinese tale Journey to the West. Shotaro will go on to meet other up-and-coming manga artists such as Fujiko Fujio, the creators of Doraemon, Fujio Atsuka, the creator of the Osamatsu series, and Jiro Sonata, who helped pave the way for the modern horror manga. Shotaro will go on to do manga for several companies, with the first two being Secondary Angel in 1954 and the other being Dragon God Pond in 1957. Dragon God Pond tells the story of a young man who visits his family in the mountains only to discover that there is a dragon god that lives in the pond. However, there are those who would use its name for greed. This was one of the precursors to the modern shoujo manga, with a sense of drama, tension, beauty, and even having commentary on religions who use the name of their gods for their own personal gain. In 1958, tragedy would strike Shotaro as his older sister died due to complications with asthma at the age of 23. Shotaro was devastated and he thought about leaving the manga industry altogether to go into film. However, with his popularity rising, he decided to stay. Also, it was around this time when Shotaro would change his last name from Onodera to Ishimori, which was the name of his neighborhood while living in Tomei. With Dragon God Pond ending in 1963, Ishimori thought it was time for a change. In the early 1960s, Ishimori would take a 2 million yen loan from his editor and took a trip around the world. One of the countries he would visit would be the United States. In America, he would attend the World Science Fiction Convention where he would come across the concept of a cyborg, a being that was half man and half machine. Using the cyborg idea in his travel experience to create a new manga, one of his more iconic works. In 1964, Shotaro Ishinomori would create Cyborg 009. Wanting the newest weapons for war, an evil organization called the Black Ghost kidnaps 9 people from around the world in order to turn them to super soldiers, cyborgs per se. However, thanks to the former Black Ghost scientist Dr. Gilmore, the 9 cyborgs rebel against the Black Ghost, stopping their plans for world domination. The team was made of the very young yet highly intelligent Cyborg 001, who was an Esper, the laid-back yet headstrong Cyborg 002, who can fly, the feminine and sensitive Cyborg 003, who had enhanced hearing and sight, the cynical Cyborg 004, whose whole body was a weapon, the silent and stoic Cyborg 005, who had super strength, the bombastic and culinary Cyborg 006, who had fire-breathing powers, the dramatic and silly Cyborg 007, who can shapeshift, the tactical, serious, and poorly designed Cyborg 008, who had the power to travel and breathe underwater, and the kind and brave titular character Cyborg 009, who had the power of super speed. Cyborg 009 was way ahead of its time with stories dealing with the Cold War, prejudice, and the environment. So basically problems that we still face today. Cyborg 009 was also hit by having a very diverse team with a black man, a Native American, and a Chinese man being equal to their white counterparts. Though their designs are very questionable by today's standards, especially with Cyborg 008. And keep in mind, there wasn't really any racist intentions towards the design, it was more out of cultural miscommunications. But hey, at least he tried though. Though this was 10 years before the X-Men took a swing at it and did it better, but that's besides the point. Cyborg 009 will be instrumental in the Japanese superhero franchise and the shonen genre as well, as it was sort of a prototype for Ishinomori's later work. Throughout the 60s, along with Cyborg 009, Ishinomori worked on other manga with different genres. These would include Sarutobi Echan, a story dealing with the normal life of a little girl who happens to be the descendant of the legendary ninja Sarutobi Sasuke. Sabo and Ichi's Detective Tales, two samurai who solved mysteries and crimes during the Edo period of Japan. 0091, a spy manga which was basically a female version of James Bond, and despite its name, it had no connections with Cyborg 009. Genma Wars, a collaboration between Ishinomori and writer Kazumasa Hirai, who also wrote Japanese superhero stories such as 8-Man and Spider-Man the manga. Basically, a post-apocalyptic story where there is war between humans and monsters. And Fantasy World June, a story about a young man who experiences rather surreal visions. It also mirrors Ishinomori's feelings as an artist. While at the height of his manga career, Ishinomori wanted to expand his reach to television. Networks interested in his work requested Ishinomori make a manga on what he had in mind. The hero that he would start off with was the Skull Man. Skull Man was the story of a Cape Crusader, a young billionaire playboy out for revenge after his parents were killed right in front of him. Yes, I can see the similarities as well. However, unlike Batman, Skullman had a butler who can transform into horrifying creatures, and Skullman was willing to kill anyone, and I mean anyone, who got in his way. Whether you were innocent or guilty, you were nothing but collateral damage to Skullman. To the producers, this was too extreme for a children's show. So tweaking the idea a bit, Skullman would be the prototype for one of the more famous of Ishinomori's works. In 1971, Kamen Rider would appear on TV. Kamen Rider told the story of Takashi Hongo, a biochemist and motorcyclist who was kidnapped by an evil organization called Shocker, who would try to turn him into the ultimate super soldier. However, Hongo would escape and fight against Shocker's evil plan as the hero known as Kamen Rider. Yeah, this sort of sounds familiar. Using elements from Cyborg 009 and Skullman, Kamen Rider would go on to be a huge success in Japan and having a cult following in the rest of the world. It would even spawn sequels that are still coming out to this day. Ishinomori would go on to make other tokusatsu heroes such as Robot Detective, a buddy cop series with an old veteran cop having to team up with a robot, Inazu Man, a mutant superhero that fights off evil robots, Transforming Ninja Arashi, about a ninja superhero protecting Japan from an evil organization, and Android Kikaider, an android who wants to know what it truly means to be human. Despite all these being successes and very popular in Japan, they weren't really that well known overseas. Well, at least in the US, I've heard that these shows had various successes in other countries. That wasn't the case until one well-known series would capture the minds of millions for years to come. That's right, in 1975, the Super Sentai series would premiere with the first series called Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger. An evil organization known as the Black Cross Army threatens to take over the world. The United Nations would then establish a peacekeeping force known as the Earth Guard League. After the Black Cross Army destroys the Japanese branch of the Earth Guard League, 5 survivors are recruited by General Gon, who gives them colorful and bright outfits to fight the Black Cross. Again, using the elements from Cyborg 009 and Kamen Rider, Super Sentai will be the beginning of the modern tokusatsu genre, inspiring many imitators and sequels, and even 20 years later it will be imported to the West as Power Rangers. Shotaro Ishinomori will continue on to work in the manga and TV industries, creating tons of works. During the 1990s, he would create a manga adaptation of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, which was featured in Nintendo Power, which was most Westerners' first exposure to his work. Around 1997, Ishinomori would work on the grand finale for Cyborg 009 called God's War. Unfortunately, he would never get a chance to complete it, as on January 28, 1998, 3 days after his birthday, Shotaro Ishinomori would die from heart failure at the age of 60. So what makes Shotaro Ishinomori so important? While not as well known compared to other creators, his work has truly left an impact on Japanese pop culture. For starters, his work on Cyborg 009 truly helped influence his later work on Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, such as the colorful costumes, the evil organization trying to take over the world, and a team of heroes trying to stop that said organization. Also, keep in mind, Cyborg 009 was actually instrumental in introducing the first black superhero into comics in general. That's right, Cyborg 008 is actually the first black superhero. For those that don't know, Black Panther first appeared in 1966, while Cyborg 008 appeared in 1964. And yeah, sure, his design was... okay, let's be honest here, this design was way outdated even by the 1960s. But luckily, it did get updated to something far cooler. I'll be sure to talk more about 008's history in a later video. Yes, while previous tokusatsu series have existed such as Ultraman and Ambassador Magma, it was Ishinomori that was the one that changed the formula and bring it towards a modern audience, establishing the concept of henshin or transformation, where the hero changes. This style will be imitated by others such as the Metal Heroes series and the Japanese Spider-Man, which inspired Super Sentai to start having giant robot monster battles. Speaking of which, without Super Sentai, there will be no Power Rangers. In Japan, Ishinomori is fairly popular. There's a museum dedicated to Ishinomori back in his home prefecture of Miyagi. In 2018, there was a 2-hour TV special detailing the life of the manga artist, which most of the clips you saw were from that special. And he also has a Guinness World Record for having the most comics published with 770 manga and 128,000 pages, thus earning him the title, the King of Manga. Even to this day, some of his manga are still being adapted into anime and movies, though some are good and others being mediocre. While Shotaro Ishinomori is not really a household name, his influence should not be forgotten as his work has truly inspired many.